Include now. Brought to you by Evenbreak.
Hi, and welcome to Community Corner, the part of the podcast where I ask our our wonderful guests, and in this case, I am joined by Paul and Harjit. We also have Adam join us too, because I wanted to say thank you for not leaving after the podcast, and joining us on Community Corner, because I really enjoyed having the opportunity to listen to where your passion for inclusion come from, who your idols were, and also how the NHS are including right now too. So the very first question from our community is: if you make an error with inclusive language, and you might not use a term that's preferred by the community, how do you fix it?
So for me, I think the first critical bit is to apologise. Apologise to the community, because I think that is the right thing to do, because you have got it wrong. And then secondly, I think there's some learning from apologising, and there's some learning at an organisational level. So it's for me to make sure I take that back to my prospective NHS trust, do some training. So, we've got mandatory quality, diversity and inclusion training. Make sure I've updated all of my policies, I've updated my training pack, and then maybe get somebody with a living experience to come and then talk about that particular pronouns, or the language that we've got, which is not inclusive, that we get them to come and do some webinars and some sessions within the organisation to raise more awareness around it. So correcting policies and making sure we raise the awareness.
Cool. Paul?
In a similar vein, I'm going to say that famous catchphrase, see it, say it, sort it. Yeah. So exactly what Harjit said. So identify it, recognise that you've made a mistake, speak it out again in the correct way if you can. So correct yourself publicly. I think it's a good thing to do as well, to show that you've learned something. But then go on and, as you say, sort it out. So try and rectify it, almost make amends, I suppose. But just try and again recognise that you've identified it, you've seen it, and you've learnt from it.
Yeah, well, because I certainly think it's a case where language is always changing too. So there are certain words that 10 years ago that were okay, but over time, and kind of what you two touched on, but through learning through having these conversations, societies actually come away from using like words that were previously okay as well.
No, you're right. It's about for me. It's about normalising language, and turning it into everyday language.
Yes.
Yeah.
I think it's important to also move on. I think apologising, recognising it, but then moving on is key. Because I think if you apologise too much, it then becomes about you and your kind of guilt almost. I think apologising, yes, and then moving on and learning from it is key.
Certainly, like the next thing that the community wanted to ask was what's the one piece of advice that you would like to tell the community that you have learnt on your inclusion journey as well?
So I would probably say, from my experience on working with equality, diversity, inclusion now for a couple of years, is we need that leadership. We need that buy-in from the very top in the organisation, because if you don't have that buy-in at the very top, then it doesn't trickle down at every level within the organisation. So that is number one key, that leadership. Role models, people sharing their living experience, and having those, mentoring and coaching and all of that, so that we can see that these people can progress. People with disabilities, people from different racial groups can really progress and be leaders in organizations. So that's my second bit. And I think my third thing, which I think NHS organizations don't do very well, is allocate some specific budgets for these pieces of work. For me to deliver I deliver a calibre program which is specific, and it's delivered by Dr. Ozzy, and I think a lot of people know Dr. Ozzy, and it's a leadership program developed specifically for disabled people in the NHS. But it requires resources, requires commitment, and I think organisations need to really put more resources and budgets for equality and diversity to really flourish within organisation. And I think the final bit for me is having a voice at every level.
Yeah, cool.
I think all of those things as well. And I think for me, the thing that I've learned as well, and it's linked to some of the things that Harjit was saying, it's around self-awareness. So it's about understanding yourself, because I don't think you can understand yourself until you understand yourself. You can't really understand others. You've got to understand where you're coming from. We talked in the previous question about making mistakes around language. I mean, that goes back to this whole thing about unconscious bias. We all know that we've got these biases and we hold them, but it's about recognising them, and again, just trying to address them. And identify them, and learn from them.
Adam, is there anything that you'd like to add at all?
No, I think it's been covered very well, but I think it is about learning and continue to make sure that living experience. I love that subtle difference between lived experience and living experience. It kind of ties in with include now, doesn't it? Because people are living their experiences now.
Yes.
So having that living experience is key.
Yeah.
Then the last one is, how do I advocate for myself as a disabled person in the NHS? like as in like how would a person sort of how would they get to a position where they can work in the like NHS as their authentic sort of person?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can I answer this?
Yeah,
Is that
yeah,
right,
you go
Harjit?
first. Yeah.
Okay, because I was thinking about this recently actually, because I use in my work I try and use poetry quite a lot, and I write my own poetry, and I wrote something recently which was all about change, and I wrote a line in there because when I write these things, I tend to just write them and I just sort of they splurge out, you know. But I do go back and I look at them, I thought, why do I write that? And I wrote a line in this recent piece I wrote, and it was, you can't give a voice to those who can't speak. And I thought, well, why did I say that? And I said it because, you know, so often, and it's true of lots, whatever area of equality you're talking about, it's what we're doing often in our work is trying to give people the space and the confidence and the safety to be able to speak and to speak out. And you can't give that to someone. They've got to take it themselves. What you can do is give them the opportunity, and you can open up the doors and you can open up the platforms for people to do it, but you can't do it for them. So you can't give a voice to those who can't speak, but you can give the opportunity to speak.
Yeah.
That is quite powerful, Paul. So I don't know what
Sorry.
to add to it. But I would probably say just exactly. I think when we talk about safe places and we talk about and you talked about being your authentic self, is how do we create those spaces? And I always say, why do we call it a safe place? Why can't we just call it an organization that allows you to be your authentic self? It allows you to be able to voice what it is you need to voice, allow those spaces for you to be able to do that. And I think for me, it's most important is show your vulnerability. We all have vulnerabilities because the other person will then relate so much better with you. And so, and you know, even we're scared to do that, isn't it, with disability? We don't want to tick the box that says I have a disability when you go for recruitment. I wish that wouldn't be the norm, that the norm would be we'd interview, you'd get the job. So it's let's be open. I like to show my vulnerability, and I do that so that people can better relate to where I come from.
Yeah. No, because I think that those two answers were like really powerful. Like, and like there's not really much more to add on. So I wanted to continue by opening it up and allowing you to ask myself and Adam something as well.
Thank you. I've certainly got one. So to both of you, and this is, you know, you asked us the question, so I'm going to ask you the question. So what has been your greatest achievement and why?
So because I would say it's tied to like work like this year where I've certainly become a lot more confident to act like my authentic person. Like, certainly if you told me 1 year ago that I would be co-hosting a podcast as a person, that certainly isn't always completely completely fluent when he's talking. I would have called you a, what's the polite like I probably would have called you a crazy person, but certainly just turning up to places as my authentic person is something that I'm really proud of.
Thank you so much.
Adam?
So, Adam, same question.
That's difficult one. I think for me it's a collective achievement, which is being part of a community of incredible professionals who are authentically changing the narrative around sexual disability. I've been lucky enough to work with incredible professionals who are making real impact, and I think as I say, not enough people know about the social model of disability. I think working with individuals, spreading word and seeing people thrive and be part of that community is phenomenal.
And we are proud of both of you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
No,
Do you have a question?
I don't. I
Okay.
think you said everything.
I've
Thank you.
got one last thing. I want to know where we can see Paul's poetry.
Yes.
Is there a place?
I do post occasionally on social media. I haven't posted that new one yet, although I performed it recently when I was at King's College Hospital.
Very nice.
They had an inclusion awards and somebody was filming it and they've stuck it on social media, which I didn't expect. So
We got a stage next door.
But thank you very much for coming on, and taking the time to answer the things that our community wanted to know. And if you've enjoyed this episode, please like and share it amongst your friends and colleagues. And if you would like to know more, please check out the best practice portal too.